Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and this is my Honda XR650L that I've been sort of building into an adventure dual sport this season. I want it to be just as comfy and capable on the high-speed roads like my old Gen 2 and Gen 3 KLRs were, but because this bike is literally over 100 pounds lighter than both of those, it is much more fun to ride off-road. And as much as I've been enjoying riding this bike during the day, I have sort of avoided riding it much at night because even with the Tusk H4 LED bulb in here, there's still a bit to be left desired out on roads in Wisconsin here anyways, where we've got deer all over the place hiding just out of stock headlight view. And that's why I pretty much always try to stick some sort of auxiliary lighting on all my motorcycles before ever doing any sort of adventure camping trips or anything like that. And while the Tusk LED bulb does certainly provide more light output than the stock halogen one did, the other really nice thing about this bulb is that unlike the stock 55-60 watt halogen bulb, this only draws 35 watts of power, which means I've still got plenty of capacity left over to wire these 10 watt floodlights directly into the bike's high beam circuit. So huge thanks to these guys for sending these out to me to test for you today. If you guys like what you see and you want to pick a set of your own up, I'll have an affiliate link down in the description for them. They do also sell this kit with a wiring harness if you're not going to tap directly into your high beams like I am today, but this is definitely going to be the most simple way to go about installing them. Now, I want to keep these as high as possible to keep them away from the mud and debris that's going to get splashed up when I'm riding off-road, but I still want to keep them below the stock headlight, so I think there is going to be my best option. So with the headlight cowl removed, we can get to the headlight plug a bit easier. And again, the only reason that this is going to work out this way is because I've got an aftermarket LED bulb in here that only requires 35 watts rather than the stock bulb that requires almost double that. So because we've got the aftermarket headlight in here, this plug is going to look a little bit different than a stock halogen bulb would be. I can put a link for this Tusk bulb as well as the fog lights that I'm using down in the description. If you use that link, it doesn't cost you guys anything extra, but it helps me to continue making videos like this. So the stock plug here has a couple different exposed terminals, and it's a little bit hard to see. You've got green, white, and blue, and we'll have to figure out which one of those terminals goes to which of these plugs, and then likewise, which one of these colors is going to be ground, low, and high beam. I want to tap into the ground with the black wires and into the high beam circuit with the reds. If you wanted these fog lights to come on with the low beam, then, well, you would want to tap into the low beam. But I want these to come on when I turn my high beam switch on, and then I want them to turn right back off when I turn that off. You could, of course, wire them to a switch, but then you've got another thing to fumble around with when you've got oncoming traffic and you just want to turn the high beams and the auxiliary lights off. I've done this a lot of times in the past, and it just seems like it's the smoothest, easiest, best way of doing things, for me anyways. That should make things much easier. So I've got my black terminal on the ground side, and I'm just going to tap the blue here, and as you can see, with the high beam switch engaged, then we've got power here and not power here. So that means that the white is going to be the low beam, blue is high beam, and the green is the ground. Much as I love this Hemisphere off-road rally dash, putting it back on is really not very much fun. Ooh, although these lights provide a nice handle now. Since they're attached to the brackets that never seem to want to line up with the bike. There we go, we're on. I'm just going to carefully trim some of this sheathing away, so I've got some room to tie in here. Put that back on the plug. So because of the connectors that I'm going to be using, I'm just going to snip the ends off of this because we need a unstripped end. And I'm sure somebody will complain about these, but I've got to say, in all the years that I've used them, I've really never had an issue with them, and they're super easy to install. You just have to slip your wire that you want power to run to in the sort of dead end side here. And then the other trough in here is just going to be slipped over whatever line you want to borrow some power from. And the little guillotine here just gets pressed down, connecting both of those lines, as long as it didn't fall out before you crimped it down. So now when I turn the key on, we've got power to that light. I'll just have to do the same exact thing with the other one here. And if I did want to pull this whole mess back off of here, I would of course need some sort of plug in between where I tapped in and the wires here. So that would just be as simple as clipping the wires here and putting in some sort of butt connectors, which I probably will do eventually, but for this simple wiring technique, I didn't want to confuse things, so I'm just going to leave it like this for now. So there we are, all wired up and ready to test. I will cover the headlight up here with boxes. Turn the high beam switch off to start with, turn the key on. So we've just got the headlight on behind the boxes. We'll flip this over to the high beams. Lights are both on. And if I turn the lights in the garage off, we can see just what we've got for a beam pattern here. Definitely, I think maybe thrown off by the boxes a little bit. So you can see the two lines here, I believe. I've got them aimed somewhat down, so you can see kind of the crest of the bottom of the lights. That should help kind of light up the terrain around where I'm riding. It does seem like maybe these could be a little bit brighter, but I guess the only way to really know is to go out and test them at night. So we'll wait for nightfall and we will hit the road and some trails and see how these things work. So I'm going to stand up a little bit so we can see over the rally dash. This is the low beam. I'll flip this over to high beam. And then, of course, we get the side shooters on, and it definitely seems like those are helping me out quite a bit. I'll try to give you a decent shot while also covering these things up. So that is just the headlight. I will let go of the auxiliary lights and let the light spill out. So it definitely adds some sort of side fill that is certainly needed. I can kind of aim them around a bit. Hopefully you can kind of see what that's doing. You can kind of see the arc of the light down at the bottom there, which does offer a nice bit of fill just kind of above the handlebars there. There is a little bit of light from the high beam, but not a whole lot down there. And I suppose we can just cover up the headlight itself to give you guys a little bit of an idea. I think that's the majority of it. So definitely a decent flood pattern, definitely a wide 60-degree beam as advertised, so they don't really shine down the road at all. But the Tusk LED seems to do a pretty good job of throwing light way down the road. That could even get aimed maybe up a tad more. I'm really pretty impressed with that bulb. How about on the gravel? Go down to low beam. Yeah, I think that needs to be aimed up a little bit higher. And this bike is such a pain to try to aim that I got to take everything back off to adjust it. And then you don't know where you're at until everything's back together. I'll flip that back onto high beam. Yeah, definitely liking that bit of fill. It's not a huge difference, but I mean certainly noticeable, and I think certainly going to be helpful. I could definitely aim them even further into the ditches if I wanted to. Look at that big old moon. Almost don't even need lights tonight. Beautiful night. Go out and test some lights. I certainly wouldn't want to ride with just those lights. High beam's definitely doing a big portion of lighting, but they certainly are helping. How about a little bit of off-road testing? So that's just the low beam. We'll flip it over to high with the auxiliary lights. Definitely adds, I think, the fill that I've really been missing with just this headlight, because as impressive as it is, without these, you really kind of lose the ability to see a good amount kind of off to the sides. I mean, the headlight does a decent job, but there's still some sort of empty holes. So especially having that spilt everywhere, I think is helpful. Maybe a little bit tighter beam pattern or a few more LEDs in the pod lights would be good. I kind of wanted to stick to something small. Something bigger might be a little bit nicer, but quite honestly, I mean, I think these do provide more than enough light. I don't really think you need more than this, but I think it probably would be nice to have a bit more. If you do want to pick a set of these up because you think they would provide you with enough light, I can put some links down in the description to them, along with a link to the headlight. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out and enjoy this beautiful world any chance you get. And if this video was helpful to you, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up or let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Till next time.